He ripped my dress off in front of 200 people, at his own wedding, to another woman. I was 6 months pregnant with his child. He grabbed the fabric right here at my shoulder, and he tore it, ripped it down to my waist, in front of his new bride, in front of our daughter, in front of 200 guests who used to call me friend. My pregnant belly exposed, my bra exposed, my shame exposed. And then he laughed. His new wife laughed. Half the room laughed. I stood there in the ruins of my dress, the ruins of my dignity, the ruins of my whole life. And you know what I did? I smiled, because they had no idea what was coming. See, while Derek Stewart was busy planning his dream wedding to his 28-year-old mistress, I was planning something else. This is the story of how my ex-husband tried to humiliate me into silence, and how I took everything from him instead. My name is Camille Stewart. I'm 38 years old. I'm a certified public accountant, a mother of 2. And for 12 years, I was married to a man who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone to his success. He used my license, my credit, my family's money, my body, my years. And when he was done, he threw me away like yesterday's trash. But that wasn't enough for Derek. Oh no, he had to destroy me one more time, publicly, permanently, so everyone would know that Camille Stewart was nothing without him. He was wrong. If this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to tell you, it's going to take a while. And trust me, you don't want to miss how this ends. Now let me take you back to the beginning. Let me show you how I built a kingdom for a man who never deserved it, and how I finally burned it all down. I met Derek Stewart in the fall of 2004, Howard University. We were both business majors, both hungry, both determined to be somebody. He was fine, I'm not going to lie. 6'2", smooth brown skin, perfect smile. The kind of man who walked into a room and owned it. Every girl on campus wanted him. And he chose me. At least, that's what I thought back then. That he chose me because I was special. Because he saw something in me that nobody else saw. Now I know the truth. He chose me because I was useful. See, Derek had the charisma, the connections, the dreams. What he didn't have was the discipline, the follow-through, the actual skills to build what he was dreaming about. But I had those things. I was the girl with the 4.0 GPA, the girl who stayed up until 3 a.m. studying for the CPA exam, the girl whose mama taught her that hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. Derek saw that in me, and he knew exactly how to use it. We dated for 2 years, got married right after graduation. I was 26, he was 28. 2 kids from Atlanta who were going to take over the world. At our wedding, Derek gave this speech. I still remember every word. He said, "Camille is my rock, my foundation. Without her, I'd be nothing. Everything I build from this day forward, I build for her, for us, for our future family." Funny how words can be both beautiful and empty at the same time. The first 5 years were actually good, or at least I thought they were good. Looking back now, I can see the cracks. But when you're in it, when you're deep in love and working hard and believing in the dream, you don't see the warning signs. Derek wanted to start a construction company, Stewart Construction. He had the vision, the contacts, the schmoozing skills to land clients. What he didn't have was capital, or a contractor's license, or a CPA to handle the finances. Guess who had all 3? My family gave us $50,000. My daddy's life insurance money that Mama had been saving for years. She gave it to us, to him, because she believed in our dream. I passed my CPA exam, got licensed, and because Georgia requires a licensed professional for certain government contracts, I put my name on the business. 60% ownership. On paper, I was the majority owner of Stewart Construction. On paper. In reality, Derek ran everything, made every decision, took every meeting, accepted every award, and I sat in the back office, crunching numbers, filing taxes, making sure we stayed legal, making sure we stayed profitable. Within 5 years, Stewart Construction went from a $50,000 startup to a $1 million company, then $3 million, then $5 million. Everyone praised Derek. That man is a genius. He built that company from nothing. Derek Stewart is the American dream. And me? I was the wife, the silent partner, the woman who brought him coffee during meetings and smiled pretty for the photos. No one knew that I was the one who negotiated our insurance rates down by 40%. No one knew I was the one who caught the accounting error that would have cost us our biggest contract. No one knew I was the one staying up until midnight making sure payroll went through so his workers could feed their families. But I didn't complain. I didn't demand credit, because that's what good wives do, right? We support. We sacrifice. We stay in the background while our men shine. At least that's what I believed back then. The first time I found out Derek was cheating, I was pregnant. Well, I had been pregnant. I'd just lost the baby. My second miscarriage in 3 years. I was lying in our bed, bleeding, cramping, crying, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I don't know why I looked. Maybe God was trying to show me something. Maybe I already knew in my gut. The message was from someone named Tiffany. "I miss you, baby. When can I see you again?" I confronted him that night. Through my tears, through my pain, through the blood still leaving my body. You know what he said? He said I was overreacting, that Tiffany was just a friend, that I was emotional because of the miscarriage, that I was seeing things that weren't there, and because I was broken, because I was desperate, because I loved him more than I loved myself. I believed him. The second affair was 2 years later. This time I found hotel receipts, jewelry purchases I never received, phone calls at 2 a.m. that he said were business. I confronted him again. This time he admitted it, but he cried. He got on his knees. He begged me to forgive him. He said he was stressed from the business, that he'd made a mistake, that it would never happen again. And I forgave him, again. Because by then we had Zoe, my miracle baby. After 3 miscarriages, God finally blessed me with a daughter. And I couldn't break up our family. I couldn't let Zoe grow up without her daddy in the house. So I stayed. I stayed through the late nights, the suspicious phone calls, the perfume I could smell on his collar, the distance that grew between us in our own bed. I stayed because I had invested everything, my money, my career, my youth, my dreams. I stayed because leaving meant admitting I had wasted 12 years of my life. And I stayed because I didn't know I deserved better. Then came Megan. Megan Collins was 25 years old when Derek hired her as his secretary. Pretty little thing, light skin, long weave, fresh out of community college with stars in her eyes. I noticed her at the company Christmas party, the way she laughed at his jokes, the way she touched his arm, the way she looked at him like he was the sun and she was desperate to orbit. I told myself I was being paranoid, jealous, insecure. I told myself a lot of lies back then. The truth came out 6 months later. I came home early from a conference, walked into my own bedroom, my own bed, and found my husband with his secretary. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there in the doorway, watching them scramble for clothes, watching their faces turn from pleasure to panic. And something inside me died. Not broke, not cracked, died. That night, Derek didn't apologize, didn't beg, didn't cry. Instead, he looked me in my eyes and said, "I want a divorce. Megan understands me in ways you never could. You can keep Zoe, but I want the house, I want the company, and I want you out of my life." Out of his life. After 12 years, after everything I'd built, after sacrificing my own dreams so he could live his, he wanted me out. The divorce was brutal. Derek hired the most expensive lawyer in Atlanta, a shark named Raymond Cross, who specialized in protecting men's assets from their soon-to-be ex-wives. Me? I could barely afford a paralegal. See, Derek controlled all our finances, the joint accounts, the business accounts, everything. I was a CPA who didn't have access to her own money. Ironic, isn't it? His lawyer painted me as the villain, the crazy wife, the woman who was jealous of her husband's success, the woman who contributed nothing to the marriage, nothing. The woman who gave him her family's money, her license, her years, her fertility, her dignity. Nothing. In the end, the judge split things equitably. Derek got the house, the cars, the company. I got Zoe, a small alimony payment for 2 years, and a broken heart. I moved in with my mama, 36 years old, divorced, unemployed, sleeping in my childhood bedroom while my daughter asked me every night why Daddy didn't love us anymore. That was 2 years ago, and I thought that was the end of my story. I was wrong. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I started feeling sick, nauseous in the mornings, exhausted all the time. My body felt different in ways I couldn't explain. I told myself it was stress, depression, the weight of rebuilding my life from nothing. But my mama knew better. "Camille," she said one morning, watching me run to the bathroom for the 3rd time, "when's the last time you had your monthly?" I froze. I couldn't remember. That afternoon, I bought a pregnancy test from the drugstore, sat on my mama's bathroom floor, and watched 2 pink lines appear. Pregnant. I was pregnant with Derek Stewart's baby. How? You're asking how. I'll tell you how. About 2 months before the divorce was finalized, Derek came to my mama's house, said he wanted to talk, said he missed me, said he'd made a mistake with Megan. I should have known better. I should have slammed the door in his face, but I was weak, I was lonely, and part of me still loved him, still believed that maybe, just maybe, we could fix things. We slept together that night. One time. One moment of weakness. And then the next morning, he was gone. Back to Megan, back to his new life, like nothing had happened. A week later, I was served with final divorce papers. He used me. One last time. And I let him. When I saw that positive test, I cried for 3 hours straight. I was 38 years old, divorced, living with my mother, no job, no savings, and now pregnant by a man who had thrown me away like garbage. What was I supposed to do? I called Derek the next day. I didn't want to. Lord knows I didn't want to ever speak to that man again. But he had a right to know. At least that's what I told myself. He answered on the 3rd ring. "What do you want, Camille?" Cold, annoyed, like I was bothering him just by existing. "I'm pregnant," I said. "It's yours, from that night you came over." Silence. Then a laugh, a cruel, mocking laugh. "You're lying." "I'm not lying, Derek. I took 3 tests. I went to the doctor. I'm about 8 weeks. His voice turned to ice. "That baby is not mine. You probably got knocked up by some random man, and you're trying to pin it on me." "Derek, you know that's not true. We can do a DNA test." "I'm not doing anything," he cut me off. "You're crazy, Camille. You've always been crazy. And if you think you're going to use some bastard baby to get more money out of me, you're wrong." Bastard baby. He called our child a bastard. "Get rid of it," he said. "I don't care what you do. Just don't come to me expecting anything. That thing is not mine." He hung up. I sat on my mama's couch, phone in my hand, tears streaming down my face. Get rid of it. After 3 miscarriages, after years of trying, after praying to God for another baby, he wanted me to get rid of it. My mama came in from the kitchen, sat down beside me, took my hand. What did he say? I couldn't even speak. Just showed her my phone, the call log, his number. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of cruelty. Mama shook her head slowly. "That man has shown you who he is, baby, over and over again. When are you going to believe him?" "What do I do, Mama?" She squeezed my hand. "You're going to have this baby. You're going to love this child, and you're going to show that man that he didn't break you." "But Mama, I have nothing. No job, no money, no—" "You have me," she said firmly. "You have your sister, you have your God, and you have yourself, Camille. You've always been stronger than you know." That night, I made my decision. I was keeping my baby. I didn't know how I was going to do it, didn't know where the money would come from, didn't know how I'd face the world as a pregnant, divorced woman whose ex-husband denied his own child. But I knew one thing. I was done crying over Derek Stewart. Or at least, I thought I was. What happened next was something I never expected. Derek didn't just deny the baby privately. He denied it publicly. He told everyone, his friends, his family, our church, anyone who would listen. "Camille is lying. That baby isn't mine. She's just a bitter ex-wife trying to trap me." Suddenly, people who had known me for years started looking at me differently. At church, women I'd sat next to in Bible study whispered behind their hands when I walked by. Men who'd shaken my hand at company events avoided my eyes. "Did you hear? Camille got pregnant by some other man. She's trying to ruin Derek's life. That poor man. First, she takes him to the cleaners in the divorce. Now this." Poor man. The man who cheated on me repeatedly. The man who kicked me out of my own house. The man who stole a company I helped build. Poor man. Megan made it worse. She posted on social media constantly. Pictures of her and Derek. Pictures of her engagement ring. Captions like "Real love wins" and "Some women just can't let go." She even posted about me directly once. "Praying for those who tried to destroy what God has blessed. Some people just can't accept when it's over." 200 likes, 50 comments, all agreeing. I stopped going to church. Stopped going anywhere, really. Just stayed at Mama's house, watching my belly grow, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. But in that loneliness, something else was growing too. Rage. Not the hot, explosive kind. That burns out fast. No, this was cold, patient, calculated. The kind of rage that makes plans. It was a Thursday afternoon when Zoe came home from her weekend with Derek. She burst through Mama's front door like a little hurricane. 8 years old, braids bouncing, eyes shining with excitement. "Mommy, Mommy, guess what?" I put down my book. My baby girl ran into my arms, practically vibrating with joy. "What is it, sweetheart?" "Daddy's getting married, and I'm going to be the flower girl." My heart stopped, but I kept my face calm. Children see everything, even when you think they don't. That's exciting, baby." Zoe pulled back, her face glowing. "Miss Megan showed me the dress. It's pink and sparkly, and it has a big bow. And I get to throw flower petals, real ones, Mommy." "That sounds beautiful, sweetheart." I looked at my mama over Zoe's head. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, lips pressed tight, eyes full of that protective fire that only mothers know. "When's the wedding?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Next month, February 14th. "That's Valentine's Day, Mommy. Daddy said it's romantic." Valentine's Day, of course. Derek always did love a spectacle. 2 days later, the letter came. Official correspondence from Raymond Cross, Derek's lawyer. I opened it with shaking hands. "Dear Ms. Stewart, this letter serves as formal notice that our client, Mr. Derek Stewart, will be exercising his court-ordered visitation rights on the weekend of February 13th through 15th. As this coincides with his wedding celebration, your daughter Zoe will be participating as a member of the wedding party. Per the custody agreement, any interference with scheduled visitation may result in contempt of court charges and potential modification of custody arrangements. Please have Zoe ready for pickup at 9 a.m. on February 13th. Regards, Raymond Cross, Esquire." I read it 3 times. He was using our custody agreement against me. If I refused to let Zoe go, I'd be in violation of a court order. I could lose primary custody. But if I let her go, my 8-year-old daughter would be at her father's wedding. The wedding where he would marry the woman he left me for. The wedding, where everyone would celebrate while my belly grew with a baby he denied. Derek wanted me to suffer, but he also wanted me there. Why? The answer came a week later. I was picking Zoe up from Derek's house, the house that used to be mine, when Megan came to the door. She was wearing yoga pants and a crop top, showing off a stomach that was flat and toned. Everything mine wasn't. "Oh, Camille," she said sweetly, too sweetly. "I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to talk to you about the wedding." I clenched my jaw. "What about it?" "Well, since Zoe is the flower girl, someone needs to bring her. And I was thinking," she paused, savoring the moment, "I was thinking you should come too, as Zoe's chaperone." My blood ran cold. "Excuse me?" "I mean, we wouldn't want Zoe to feel abandoned, right? It's such a big day. She should have her mother nearby." Megan's smile widened. "Besides, I want everyone to see that there's no hard feelings, that we can all be mature." That's when I understood. She didn't want me there to support Zoe. She wanted me there to witness her victory, to sit in the audience, pregnant and alone, while she married the man who was supposed to be mine. She wanted to humiliate me. They both did. I wanted to say no, to tell her exactly where she could shove her invitation. But Zoe was standing right there, looking up at me with those big brown eyes. "Will you come, Mommy? Please? I want you to see me throw the flowers." I knelt down to her level. "Of course, baby. Mommy will be there." Megan's smile turned triumphant. "Wonderful. We'll send you the details." She closed the door in my face. That night, I sat on Mama's porch, watching the sunset, rubbing my swollen belly. She came out with 2 glasses of sweet tea, sat down in the chair next to mine. For a while, neither of us spoke, just watched the sky turn orange and pink. Finally, she said, "You're going to that wedding." It wasn't a question. "I have to, for Zoe." "Mm-hmm." "Mama, what am I supposed to do? Sit there and watch him marry her, with everyone looking at me like I'm the pathetic ex-wife who can't move on?" Mama took a long sip of her tea. "Baby, let me tell you something." She turned to face me. "You're not going to that wedding as a victim. You hear me?" "Then what am I going as?" "A witness." I frowned. "A witness to what?" Mama's eyes gleamed. "To your own resurrection." "I don't understand." "You will, but first, we got work to do." She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a business card. I looked at it. Rochelle Thompson Banks, partner, Family Law Division, Thompson and Associates. My sister. "Call Rochelle," Mama said. "Tell her everything, and I mean everything, Camille. Every document, every account, every receipt from that marriage." "Why? The divorce is final. I can't." "Child," Mama cut me off, "you were the accountant for that company. You know where all the bodies are buried." "What are you saying, Mama?" She smiled, that slow, knowing smile that mothers have when they're about to teach you something. "I'm saying Derek Stewart thinks he got away with something, but God sees everything, baby, and sometimes God uses our hands to deliver his justice. Now dry your tears, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and start using that big brain I know you got." She stood up, took her tea, and headed back inside. At the door, she stopped. "That man wants to destroy you at his wedding? Fine, let him try." She looked at me over her shoulder. "But when he's standing at that altar feeling like a king, he won't know that his whole kingdom is about to fall." I sat there long after Mama went inside, watching the stars come out, thinking about everything I knew, everything I'd seen, everything I'd documented over 12 years as the company's accountant. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel helpless. I felt dangerous. I called Rochelle the next morning. February 14th, Valentine's Day, Derek's wedding day, and the day everything changed. I woke up at 5 a.m., couldn't sleep anyway. My belly was huge now, 6 months along. The baby was kicking like he knew something was about to happen. I'd bought a new dress for the occasion, burgundy, elegant, maternity cut, but still beautiful. I wasn't going to show up looking defeated. Whatever happened today, I was going to hold my head high. Mama helped me with my hair. Natural curls, pinned up, simple, regal. "You look beautiful, baby," she said, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "I'm scared, Mama." "I know, but remember what I told you. You're not going as a victim. I'm going as a witness." "That's right." My phone buzzed, a text from Rochelle. "Everything is ready. When you're ready, just say the word. I love you, sis." I took a deep breath. 20 years of evidence, 2 months of planning, 1 phone call. That's all it would take. But the timing had to be perfect. The wedding was at Cornerstone Baptist, the same church where Derek and I had gotten married 14 years ago. The same pews, the same altar, the same stained glass windows. He was petty like that. I arrived alone, parked in the back of the lot, sat in my car for 10 minutes, just breathing. My phone buzzed again. "Rochelle, you don't have to do this. We can handle it another way." I typed back, "No, it has to be today. He wants an audience? I'll give him one." I stepped out of my car. The church was packed. 200 people, easy. Everyone from Atlanta's black business community, politicians, pastors, people I used to call friends. I walked up the church steps, my belly leading the way. People stared. Of course they did. The pregnant ex-wife showing up to her ex-husband's wedding. It was the scandal of the season. I heard the whispers. "Is that Camille? Girl, she showed up pregnant? That's bold. Or stupid. I heard that baby isn't even his." I kept walking. Found a seat in the back row, far enough to be out of the way, close enough to see everything. An usher approached me. Young man, probably one of Derek's employees. "Ma'am, should you be here?" I looked him dead in the eye. "I'm here for my daughter. She's the flower girl." He had nothing to say to that. The music started. Paco Bell's canon. So predictable. First, the bridesmaids. 4 women I didn't recognize. Young, pretty, Megan's friends probably. Then the groomsmen, including Derek's brother, who couldn't even look in my direction. Then Zoe, my baby girl. She was beautiful in her pink dress, carefully dropping rose petals from her little basket. She looked so serious, so focused on getting it right. When she passed my row, she saw me, and her whole face lit up. "Hi, Mommy," she whispered loudly. A few people chuckled. I smiled and waved, my heart aching. And then came Megan, white dress, cathedral train, diamond tiara, looking like she'd stepped out of a fairy tale. Everyone stood as she walked down the aisle toward Derek, who was waiting at the altar with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. I didn't stand. Pastor Mitchell performed the ceremony. The same pastor who'd married me and Derek. The same pastor I'd confessed to when I found out about the affairs. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Derek and Megan." I tuned out most of it. Didn't need to hear promises I knew he wouldn't keep. Instead, I watched Derek's performance, the loving gazes, the tender touches, all the things he used to do with me before he decided I wasn't worth the effort anymore. Watched Megan's triumph, the way she glowed with victory. She had won. She had taken my husband, my home, my life, and now the whole world was applauding her. Watched the guests, the people who'd known me for years, now celebrating my replacement like I never existed. "I do," Derek said. "I do," Megan said. "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Applause, cheers, a standing ovation, and me, in the back row, 6 months pregnant, invisible. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the church fellowship hall for photos and appetizers before the reception. I tried to stay out of the way, found a corner, waited for Zoe so I could take her to get cleaned up. But Megan found me first. She approached with 2 of her bridesmaids, champagne glasses in hand, faces flushed with victory. "Camille, I'm so glad you could make it." Her voice was loud, deliberately loud. People turned to look. "Congratulations," I said flatly. Thank you. You know, I was a little worried you wouldn't come. I know this must be hard for you. She gestured to her wedding dress, to her ring, to everything that used to be mine. But I'm so glad we can all be adults about this. I didn't take the bait, just stood there, stone-faced. One of the bridesmaids giggled. Megan, leave her alone. She's already embarrassed enough showing up pregnant. Megan fake gasped. Oh, I know. Camille, is that Derek's baby? Or... She trailed off suggestively. The bridesmaids laughed. Excuse me, I said. I need to find my daughter. I turned to leave. That's when Derek appeared. He'd been drinking. I could smell it. Champagne and something stronger underneath. Camille. He said my name like it tasted bad. Derek, what are you doing here? I'm here for Zoe. You know that. He stepped closer, too close, invading my space. You couldn't just stay home, could you? Couldn't let me have one day without you trying to ruin everything. I'm not trying to ruin anything. I'm staying out of the way. I just want to... Bullshit. His voice rose. People were watching now, dozens of them. You came here to make a scene, to get attention, to make everyone feel sorry for you with your... He gestured disgustedly at my belly. Your little trap baby. Derek, lower your voice. Don't tell me what to do. He was shouting now. The whole room had gone silent. You know what? I'm sick of you. Sick of your lies. Sick of you pretending that baby is mine. Sick of you showing up where you don't belong. Zoe appeared at the edge of the crowd. I saw her little face, confused and scared. Mommy? Daddy? Go back inside, Zoe, I said quickly. Everything's fine. Everything is not fine, Derek snarled. He grabbed me. His hand closed around the shoulder of my dress, and he pulled. Rip! The fabric tore from my shoulder down to my waist, exposing my pregnant belly, my bra, my skin. I stumbled back, trying to cover myself. The room gasped. 200 people watching. Look at her, Derek screamed, pointing at my exposed body. This is who she really is. A liar. A whore. That baby is not mine. She got knocked up by some random man, and she's trying to trap me. Megan laughed. Actually laughed. That's what you get for showing up, she said. Pathetic. Some people in the crowd laughed nervously. Others looked away. No one moved to help me. I stood there, exposed, humiliated, alone. My daughter ran to me crying, Mommy! Mommy! Derek grabbed at Zoe's arm. Get back here, Zoe. You don't need to be near her. But Zoe pulled away. She ran to me and wrapped her arms around my legs, crying. Leave my mommy alone! You're being mean, Daddy! I looked down at my daughter, at her tear-stained face, at her little arms trying to protect me. I looked at the crowd, at their faces. Shock, disgust, pity, but no one helping. I looked at Derek, his face twisted with rage, with triumph. He thought he'd destroyed me. I looked at Megan, still laughing, still thinking she'd won. And something shifted inside me. I stopped shaking. I stopped crying. I wrapped my torn dress around myself as best I could, and I smiled. Derek's face flickered, confusion replacing triumph. What are you smiling at? I didn't answer, just reached into my purse, found my phone, held his gaze while I dialed. What are you doing? Who are you calling? One ring. Answer me. Who are you calling? 2 rings. The line connected. It's time, I said into the phone. Now. 3 words. I hung up. Derek stepped back. Something in my face had changed, and he could feel it. What did you just do? I looked at him, looked through him. Derek, you have about 20 minutes. I suggest you enjoy your reception. His face paled. What do you mean? What did you do? I didn't answer, just picked up Zoe, wrapped my arms around her, and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted for me, silent, confused. A voice called out, Wait, let me help you. I turned. An older black woman was walking toward me, gray hair, kind eyes, expensive dress. "I'm Vivian Collins, Megan's aunt." I tensed. Another enemy? But Vivian took off her own cardigan and wrapped it around my shoulders. "What they did to you was wrong," she said quietly. "I raised that girl better than this. I'm so sorry." I looked at her genuine shame and concern. "Thank you," I whispered. Vivian helped me to the door, helped me to my car, got Zoe buckled in. "Are you going to be all right?" I nodded. "I will be. After today, I will be." Vivian looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Good. Give them hell." I drove away from that church, drove away from my humiliation, my torn dress, my exposed body. But I wasn't crying. I was counting. 20 minutes, 19, 18. In about 15 minutes, Derek Stewart's wedding reception was going to get some very unexpected guests, and nothing would ever be the same. If you want to know what happened next, you better hit that like button and stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you, it's the reason Derek Stewart is in federal prison right now. And it all started with one phone call. Act 2, coming up. Now let me take you back to 6 months before that wedding, back to when I stopped crying and started planning. Because that phone call I made, that wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. That was 6 months of preparation, 6 months of gathering evidence, 6 months of building a case so airtight that Derek Stewart would never see daylight again. Let me show you how the hunted became the hunter. The morning after Derek called my baby a bastard, I drove to my sister's law office, Rochelle Thompson Banks, 4 years older than me, partner at one of Atlanta's top family law firms, the woman who had been telling me to leave Derek for years, the woman I should have listened to. Her office was on the 32nd floor of a downtown high-rise, glass walls, leather chairs, diplomas from Howard and Harvard Law covering the walls. She was expecting me. "Sit down," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "Tell me everything." So I did. I told her about the pregnancy, about Derek's denial, about his threats, about the way he'd turned everyone against me. Rochelle listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "Okay, first things first. We're getting a court order for a paternity test. He can deny it all he wants, but DNA doesn't lie. He'll fight it. Let him. He'll lose." She pulled out a legal pad. "Now, tell me about the divorce, everything about the settlement." I sighed. There's nothing to tell. He got everything, the house, the cars, the company. "Stop." Rochelle held up her hand. "Camille, you were the CFO of Stewart Construction for 12 years. You know that company inside and out. You know where the money comes from and where it goes." So, Rochelle leaned forward. During the divorce, Derek declared total assets of approximately $500,000. Does that sound right to you? I thought about it. The house alone was worth $600,000. The company was bringing in $3 million a year in revenue. The equipment, the vehicles, the contracts. "No," I said slowly. "That's not right. That's not even close." Rochelle smiled. It was not a nice smile. "That's what I thought. Camille, I think your ex-husband committed perjury. I think he hid assets during the divorce. And if I'm right," she tapped her pen on the desk, "that divorce settlement is void, and he's looking at criminal charges." Rochelle had her paralegal pull every document from my divorce case, every financial disclosure, every company record that was submitted as evidence. 3 days later, she called me back to her office. "Camille, sit down. I found something." She spread papers across her conference table. I recognized them immediately. The original incorporation documents for Stewart Construction from 2007, the year we started the company. "Look at this," Rochelle said, pointing to a specific section. I leaned in, read the text, and my heart stopped. "Ownership structure," I read aloud. "Camille Stewart, 60%. Derek Stewart, 40%. I looked up at my sister. "I'm the majority owner?" "You're the majority owner. But during the divorce, his lawyer said..." his lawyer lied, or Derek lied to his lawyer. Either way, this document was never submitted during discovery. I checked. Rochelle pulled out another paper. And here's why. Remember when you got your CPA license? Of course. Georgia law requires certain government contracts to have a licensed CPA as primary owner. Derek needed your license to bid on those contracts. So when you incorporated, he put you down as 60% owner. He probably planned to change it later, but he never did. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he was too arrogant to think it mattered. Rochelle looked me dead in the eyes. Camille, you own 60% of Stewart Construction, legally, on paper. That company is more yours than his. I sat back in my chair. 12 years. For 12 years, I'd worked in the background. Let Derek take the credit. Let him be the face while I did the work. And the whole time, I was the majority owner. He knew it. He had to know it. That's why he fought so hard to keep me away from the business records during the divorce. That's why his lawyer never let me see the incorporation documents. He'd been hiding this from me, from the court, from everyone. What do we do now? I asked. Rochelle smiled that dangerous smile again. Now, we dig deeper, because if he hid this, I guarantee he's hiding more. Over the next 2 weeks, Rochelle and I went through every financial document I could find. I still had copies of old tax returns, bank statements from joint accounts, receipts and invoices from my years running the company books. And the more we looked, the worse it got. Look at this, I said one night. We were at Mama's kitchen table, papers spread everywhere. This wire transfer from 2019, $300,000 to an account in the Cayman Islands. Rochelle frowned. That wasn't on any disclosure. Because it doesn't exist, at least not officially, but I remember this transfer. Derek said it was for a business opportunity overseas. I questioned it, but he told me to mind my own business. That's not the only one. I pulled out more records, more transfers, more money disappearing into offshore accounts. By the time we were done counting, we had documented over $2.3 million that Derek had hidden from me, from the court, and from the IRS. $2.3 million. Camille, Rochelle said slowly, this isn't just divorce fraud. This is tax evasion. This is money laundering. This is federal. Once I started looking with new eyes, I saw everything. The fake expenses, thousands of dollars in consulting fees to companies that didn't exist, payments to contractors who were actually Derek's friends getting kickbacks, the ghost employees, people on payroll who never did a day of work, including Megan, who was listed as a marketing consultant 2 years before she was even hired as a secretary. The hidden income, cash payments from clients that never made it to the books, entire projects that weren't reported. For 7 years, Derek Stewart had been cheating the IRS, using the company I helped build, using my CPA license, using my name on documents I never saw. If this came out, I could go to jail too. My signature was on those tax returns. I was listed as the company's accountant. Even though I didn't know about the fraud, I could be held responsible. I could lose everything, I whispered. I could go to prison. Rochelle shook her head. Not if you're the whistleblower. What? Camille, there's a federal program. If you report tax fraud before they catch you, if you cooperate fully and provide evidence, you get immunity, protection. And, she paused, and you get 15 to 30% of whatever the IRS recovers. 15 to 30% of $2.3 million. That was somewhere between $350,000 and almost $700,000. How do I do it? I know someone. IRS criminal investigation. Let me make some calls. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a nondescript office building in downtown Atlanta. Across from me was Agent Marcus Warren, IRS Criminal Investigation Division, 20 years of experience taking down financial criminals. He was tall, serious, the kind of man who'd seen it all and wasn't impressed by anything. But when I showed him my evidence, even he raised his eyebrows. "Mrs. Stewart," he said, flipping through the documents, "do you understand what you're giving me here?" "I think so." "This isn't just tax fraud. This is systematic. 7 years of false returns, hidden offshore accounts, money laundering through shell companies." He looked up at me. "Your ex-husband is looking at federal prison, 10 to 15 years minimum." I let that sink in. 10 to 15 years. Part of me felt sick. This was the man I'd loved for over a decade, the father of my children. But then I remembered. I remembered the affairs, the lies, the way he'd kicked me out of my own home, the way he'd called our baby a bastard, the way he'd turned everyone against me. "What do I need to do?" Agent Warren nodded slowly. "We need to build the case. More documentation, more evidence, and we need to keep this quiet until we're ready to move." "How long?" 4 to 6 months. We need to do this right. One wrong move and he could destroy evidence, flee the country, or transfer more assets overseas. "There's one more thing," I said. Agent Warren waited. "I want to choose when you arrest him." He frowned. "That's not usually how this works." "I know, but I have my reasons." "What reasons?" I thought about Megan's smug face, about the wedding she was planning, about the 200 people who would be there to celebrate Derek's new beginning. Let's just say I want maximum impact. Agent Warren studied me for a long moment. Then slowly, he smiled. "I think we can work something out." The next 4 months were the busiest of my life. By day, I was a pregnant woman living at her mother's house. Quiet, defeated, exactly what Derek expected me to be. By night, I was building a case that would destroy him. Agent Warren and I met every week, sometimes at his office, sometimes at Rochelle's firm, sometimes at random coffee shops where no one would recognize us. I brought him everything: bank records, tax returns, contracts, emails, text messages, every piece of evidence I'd saved over 12 years. My CPA training finally had a purpose beyond making Derek rich. "You're thorough," Agent Warren said one night, reviewing my latest submission. "Most whistleblowers give us fragments. You're giving us a roadmap." I spent 12 years managing this company's books. I know where everything is. Even the things he tried to hide? I smiled, especially those. The biggest piece of evidence came by accident. It was 2 a.m. on a Thursday night, December. I was 3 months pregnant and couldn't sleep. My phone rang. Derek. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Hello?" He was drunk. I could hear it in his voice, slurred words, that particular meanness that alcohol brought out in him. "Camille, you think you're so smart, don't you?" "Derek, it's 2 a.m. "Shut up, I'm talking." I reached for my recorder. I'd started keeping one by my bed, just in case. Hit record. "You think you can trap me with this baby? It's not going to work, you hear me?" "Derek, that baby is mine. I know it's mine, but I'm never going to admit it. Never. You understand? I'm not giving you another dime." I held my breath. He'd just admitted it, on a recording. The baby was his. "You're going to be a single mother with nothing, and I'm going to be married to Megan in 2 months, living my best life, and everyone's going to see what a pathetic, lying—" "Good night, Derek." I hung up. I played the recording back 3 times just to make sure it was clear. That baby is mine. I know it's mine. His voice, his words, his admission. I sent a copy to Rochelle immediately. "We got him," I texted. She responded with 3 words: "Get some sleep." I couldn't. I lay in bed, hand on my belly, feeling my baby kick. "Your daddy doesn't want you," I whispered. "But I do, and I'm going to make sure you never want for anything." By January, everything was in place. Agent Warren had assembled his team. Forensic accountants had traced every hidden dollar. Federal prosecutors had drafted the charges. All that was left was choosing the moment. The wedding is February 14th, I told Agent Warren. Valentine's Day. He always did love a spectacle. Agent Warren looked at me carefully. Mrs. Stewart, I have to ask, are you sure about this? We can arrest him any time. It doesn't have to be at his wedding. I thought about it. Thought about the years of lies, the affairs, the stolen money, the way he'd destroyed my reputation while building his empire on my back. Thought about Megan posting on social media. Real love wins. 200 likes. Thought about the baby in my belly, the one Derek called a bastard in public and admitted was his in private. He's going to invite me to that wedding, I said. He's going to use our daughter to force me to come, and he's going to try to humiliate me in front of everyone. How do you know? Because that's who he is. He's not satisfied with winning. He needs to destroy. He needs everyone to see him destroy me. So yes, Agent Warren, I'm sure. Let him have his moment. Let him think he's won. I looked him in the eyes. And then take everything from him. Agent Warren nodded slowly. February 14th. We'll be ready. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I sat on Mama's porch, wrapped in a blanket, looking at the stars. She came out around midnight, sat down beside me. You nervous? Terrified. Mama took my hand. Baby, let me tell you something. I've watched you suffer for 12 years. Watched you shrink yourself to make that man feel big. Watched you give and give and give until you had nothing left. She squeezed my hand. But I've also watched you these past few months, getting stronger, standing taller, preparing. You're not the same woman who walked into my house 6 months ago. That woman was broken. You, she looked at me with so much pride, you're a warrior now. What if it doesn't work, Mama? What if something goes wrong? Then you'll figure it out, because that's what you do. That's what you've always done. Now go inside and get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Yes, ma'am. I started to get up. She grabbed my hand. Camille? Yes, Mama? I'm proud of you, baby. Your daddy would be too. I cried. For the first time in months, I cried. But these weren't tears of pain. They were tears of strength. So now you understand. When Derek ripped my dress at his wedding, he thought he was destroying me. He didn't know I'd been waiting for that moment. Didn't know that my weakness was actually strategy. Didn't know that the phone call I made was to Agent Marcus Warren of the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Let me tell you what happened next. After I left the church, after Aunt Vivian helped me to my car, after I drove away with my daughter, the wedding party headed to the reception. Grand ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton, Atlanta. 200 guests, champagne fountains, ice sculptures, a 12-tier wedding cake. Derek had spared no expense. With my money, of course. Money he'd stolen and hidden. He walked in with Megan on his arm, still riding high from humiliating me, still believing he was untouchable. The DJ announced them. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, Mr. and Mrs. Derek Stewart. Applause, cheers, music. Derek took the microphone. Thank you all for being here to celebrate the best day of my life. I know some of you witnessed an incident at the church. Murmurs, nervous laughter. My ex-wife has some issues, mental issues, but we're not going to let her ruin our day, are we? Cheers of support. Tonight is about love, about new beginnings, about leaving the past behind. He raised his champagne glass. To my beautiful bride, Megan, the woman who showed me what real love looks like. To Megan! The crowd drank. Derek smiled, king of his castle, master of his domain. He had about 12 minutes left of freedom. Outside the Ritz-Carlton, 3 black SUVs pulled into the circular driveway. No sirens, no lights, just 3 dark vehicles parking in a row. The doors opened. Agent Warren stepped out first, dark suit, federal badge visible on his belt, followed by 6 more agents, FBI, IRS, all armed, all serious. The valet approached nervously. Sir, can I help you? Agent Warren showed his badge. "We're not here to park. We're here for the wedding." Inside, the party was in full swing. Guests were mingling, drinking, dancing to the DJ's music, celebrating the happy couple. No one noticed the side door opening. No one noticed the agents filing in. Not until they reached the center of the room. The DJ's music stopped mid-song. The lights came up. 200 people fell silent. Agent Warren walked toward the head table where Derek and Megan were seated. Derek's smile faded. What is this?" Agent Warren reached the table, looked down at Derek. "Derek Stewart? Who's asking?" "Agent Marcus Warren, IRS Criminal Investigation." The room gasped. Megan grabbed Derek's arm. "What's going on? What does he want?" Derek stood up, trying to project confidence. "Agent, I don't know what this is about, but this is my wedding. Whatever you need can wait until—" "Mr. Stewart." Agent Warren's voice cut through like a knife. "You're under arrest." The words hung in the air. 200 guests frozen, champagne glasses suspended, the wedding cake gleaming in the background, and Derek Stewart in his $5,000 tuxedo being told he was under arrest. "Under arrest?" Derek laughed, but it was shaky. "For what?" Agent Warren pulled out a document. Tax fraud, money laundering, hiding assets during divorce proceedings, perjury, false financial statements, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He kept reading. Failure to report over $2.3 million in hidden accounts, falsifying business records, making false statements to federal investigators. Each charge was a hammer blow. Derek's face went from confident to confused to terrified in the span of 30 seconds. This is ridiculous. I haven't done any of that. Someone is lying to you." "We have documentation, Mr. Stewart. 7 years of falsified tax returns, bank records from the Cayman Islands, shell company transactions. We also have a cooperating witness." Derek's eyes went wide. Who would? And then he knew. I could see it on his face, even though I wasn't there. My sister told me later. She said the moment of realization was visible, the moment he understood. Camille, his quiet, defeated, pathetic ex-wife, the woman he'd thrown away like garbage, the woman who knew where all the bodies were buried, because she'd helped bury them. "Turn around, Mr. Stewart, hands behind your back." "You can't do this. I have rights. I have a lawyer. You can call your lawyer from the station. Right now, you're coming with us." The handcuffs clicked. The sound echoed through the silent ballroom. 200 guests watched as Derek Stewart, CEO, community leader, newly married man, was handcuffed at his own wedding reception. Megan screamed, "What are you doing? Stop! That's my husband!" She tried to grab at the agents. One of them held her back. "Ma'am, if you interfere with federal officers, you'll be arrested too." "I didn't do anything." "We'll see about that. We have questions for you as well." Megan's face went pale. "Questions? About what?" "The joint accounts, the transfers, the property purchases made in your name with fraudulent funds." "But I didn't know." "That's what they all say." Agent Warren and his team walked Derek Stewart through the middle of the reception, past the champagne fountains, past the ice sculptures, past the wedding cake that would never be cut, past 200 guests who had come to celebrate and were now witnessing a downfall. Photographers, the ones hired to capture romantic moments, captured this instead. Derek Stewart in handcuffs, Megan Stewart screaming and crying. The most expensive wedding Atlanta had seen that year turned into a federal crime scene. Some guests pulled out phones, recording, already texting. The story would be all over social media within minutes. Derek Stewart arrested at his own wedding. IRS raided the reception. $2 million hidden offshore. The man who'd spent years building his reputation watched it crumble in real time. As the agents reached the exit, Derek twisted around. His eyes scanned the crowd, looking for someone, anyone who might help. And then he saw her, Pastor Mitchell, standing near the back, frozen in shock like everyone else. "Pastor," Derek called out. "Pastor, tell them. Tell them I'm a good man. This is a mistake." Pastor Mitchell didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching the man he'd married hours ago being dragged away in handcuffs. "Pastor!" Nothing. The doors closed behind Derek Stewart, and just like that, he was gone. I was at Mama's house when Rochelle called. Zoe was already asleep in the back room, exhausted from the emotional day. Aunt Vivian had stayed with us for an hour, apologizing over and over for her niece's behavior. Mama and I were sitting in the living room, waiting. The phone rang at 7:47 p.m. "Rochelle? They got him." 3 words. I closed my eyes. "It's done?" "It's done. He was arrested at the reception, in front of everyone, handcuffed and walked out. The whole thing was captured on video." I exhaled, a breath I'd been holding for 6 months, maybe longer, maybe 12 years. He's at the federal detention center now. Bail hearing is Monday, but Warren thinks they'll deny it. Flight risk because of the offshore accounts. And Megan? Taken in for questioning. Not arrested yet, but they're investigating her involvement. Apparently, she was screaming about not knowing anything. I should have felt joy, triumph, victory. Instead, I felt empty, tired, done. "Camille, you okay?" Yeah, I'm okay." Mama took the phone from me. "Rochelle, this is your mother. Thank you, baby. You did good. Now let your sister rest." She hung up and looked at me. "How do you feel?" "I don't know, Mama. I thought I'd feel different." "You thought you'd feel happy." "Yeah." Mama sat down next to me, took my hand. "Baby, justice isn't about happiness. It's about balance, about making things right. You don't have to feel happy. You just have to know that you did what needed to be done." "Is it wrong that part of me feels sad?" "No, that part of you remembers the man you thought he was, the man you hoped he could be. It's okay to mourn that. Even after everything he did? Especially after. Because you're not like him, Camille. You're not cruel. You're not cold. You did what you had to do, but you didn't enjoy it." She pulled me into a hug. "That's how I know I raised you right." While I was processing my strange mix of emotions, Megan Stewart's world was falling apart. Rochelle told me later what happened at the federal building. Megan was questioned for 4 hours. At first, she was defiant. "I don't know anything about hidden money. I just met him 2 years ago." But the agents had done their homework. "Mrs. Stewart, well, I suppose we can't call you that. The marriage may be void." "Ms. Collins." "Don't call me that." "Ms. Collins, we have records showing significant purchases made in your name over the past 18 months. A Mercedes, jewelry worth $50,000, a down payment on a condo. Derek bought those for me. That's not illegal." "It is if the money was obtained through fraud." Megan started crying then. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know where the money came from." "So you never asked how a construction company owner could afford to buy you a $100,000 engagement ring?" I thought business was good." "Business was good because your fiancé was stealing from the government and hiding the money." The agents showed her more documents, transfers to her personal account, properties in her name that she didn't even know about, a paper trail that linked her directly to the fraud. "We're not arresting you tonight, Ms. Collins, but you will be called to testify, and if we find evidence that you knowingly participated in this scheme," the agent leaned forward, "you'll be joining your husband in federal prison." Megan was released at midnight. She walked out of the federal building in her wedding dress, mascara running down her face, no phone, no purse, no one waiting for her. She had to call her aunt from a payphone. Aunt Vivian picked her up an hour later. "I don't want to hear it," Vivian said when Megan tried to explain. "I watched what happened at that church. I saw how you laughed at that pregnant woman. Whatever's happening to you now, you earned it." Megan spent her wedding night at her mother's house, in her childhood bedroom, alone. By morning, everyone knew. The videos from the reception had gone viral overnight. "CEO arrested at own wedding" was trending on Twitter. Local news picked it up, then national. Atlanta businessman Derek Stewart was arrested yesterday during his wedding reception on charges of tax fraud and money laundering. Authorities say he hid over $2 million in offshore accounts. The story mentioned Me Too. The arrest comes after Stewart's ex-wife, Camille Stewart, filed a whistleblower complaint with the IRS. Earlier that day, video shows Derek Stewart physically assaulting his pregnant ex-wife at the wedding ceremony. The video of him ripping my dress played on every network. My humiliation broadcast for the world to see. But now, the context was different. Now, people saw a cruel man attacking a pregnant woman. Now, people understood who the real villain was. My phone started ringing. Friends I hadn't heard from in months. Colleagues from the company. People who'd believed Derek's lies about me. Camille, I'm so sorry. Camille, I had no idea. Camille, is there anything I can do? I didn't answer most of them. Some things an apology can't fix. 3 days after the wedding, Pastor Mitchell came to Mama's house. I didn't want to see him. This was the man who'd married Derek and Megan, the man who'd believed all of Derek's lies about me, the man who'd watched me get kicked out of the church community and done nothing. But Mama convinced me. Hear him out, baby, then decide if his apology is worth anything. Pastor Mitchell sat in our living room, hat in his hands, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Sister Camille, I don't know where to begin. Then don't. Just say what you came to say. He flinched at my tone. Good. I was deceived. We all were. Derek was. He knew how to present himself, how to make people trust him. I know. I was married to him for 12 years. Yes, and I should have listened to you. When you came to me about the affairs, I told you to pray harder, to be a better wife, to submit to your husband. He shook his head. I was wrong, so wrong, and I'm sorry. I looked at him for a long moment. Pastor, do you know what hurt the most? It wasn't Derek's lies. I expected that from him. It was the church, the people I'd worshipped with for years, the community I'd served and tithed to and trusted. I know. You all turned on me because he was charming and I was inconvenient. I know. Your apology doesn't fix that. No, it doesn't, but it's all I have to offer. I considered his words. Then I stood up. Pastor Mitchell, I accept your apology, but I won't be coming back to Cornerstone Baptist. I need to find a community that sees me for who I am, not who my ex-husband tells them I am. He nodded sadly. I understand, and if you ever change your mind, you'll always be welcome. We'll see. He stood to leave. At the door, he paused. Sister Camille? Yes? What you did took courage. Standing up to a man like that, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment. That's not weakness. That's strength. I know. He left. Mama came in from the kitchen. You okay? Yeah, I actually am. He's right, you know. What you did took strength. Maybe. Or maybe I was just tired of being stepped on. Mama smiled. Sometimes that's the same thing. While I was finding closure, Derek was finding out what his future looked like. The bail hearing was on Monday. His lawyer argued for release teams to the community, successful business, first offense. The prosecutor argued against it. Offshore accounts meant flight risk. Evidence suggested ongoing criminal enterprise. Severity of charges warranted detention. The judge agreed with the prosecutor. Bail denied. Derek Stewart would await trial in federal detention. His lawyer visited him that afternoon, told him the evidence against him. $2.3 million in hidden assets, documented. 7 years of tax fraud, documented. Perjury during divorce proceedings, documented. A cooperating witness with intimate knowledge of all his crimes. Who? Derek demanded. Who's the witness? The lawyer hesitated. Your ex-wife, Camille. Derek's face went purple with rage. That bitch! She can't do this. She signed those documents too. She's just as guilty as I am. She has immunity, whistleblower protection. In exchange for her testimony, she's protected from prosecution. But she... The reality hit him. The woman he'd dismissed as weak, pathetic, crazy. She'd been building a case against him for 6 months. While he was planning his wedding, she was planning his downfall. While he was laughing at her pregnancy, she was documenting his crimes. While he was ripping her dress in front of 200 people, she was making the phone call that would end his freedom. He'd underestimated her, just like he'd underestimated her for 12 years. And now it was too late. So that's what happened at my ex-husband's wedding. He tried to humiliate me in front of everyone. Instead, he got humiliated himself. He tried to destroy me. Instead, he destroyed himself. He thought he was the smartest person in the room. He forgot that I was the one who'd been managing the books. If you're still with me, hit that like button. We're about to get to the best part, the part where I take back everything that was always mine. Act 3 is coming up. Justice is about to be served. 3 months after Derek's arrest, we were back in family court. But this time, everything was different. This time, I wasn't the broken woman with the cheap lawyer. I was the whistleblower with federal agents ready to testify on my behalf. This time, Derek wasn't the charming CEO in his expensive suit. He was the defendant in an orange jumpsuit shackled at the wrists. Judge Patricia Henderson looked at the evidence spread before her, the same evidence I'd spent 6 months gathering, the same evidence that was about to change my life. "Mr. Stewart," she began, her voice cold, "during your divorce proceedings 2 years ago, you submitted financial disclosures under oath. Is that correct?" Derek's lawyer nudged him. "Yes, Your Honor." "And in those disclosures, you claimed total marital assets of approximately $500,000? "Yes." The judge held up a document. "I have here records showing offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands containing over $2.3 million, accounts that existed at the time of your divorce, accounts you failed to disclose." Derek said nothing. "I also have records showing that your ex-wife, Camille Stewart, is listed as 60% owner of Stewart Construction, a fact that was never presented during divorce proceedings." She set down the paper. "Mr. Stewart, you committed perjury. You lied under oath. You defrauded this court and your ex-wife." "Your Honor, I can explain. I don't want your explanations. I want justice." The judge turned to Rochelle. "Counselor, what is your client seeking?" Rochelle stood. "My big sister, my protector, my secret weapon." "Your Honor, we're seeking to have the original divorce settlement voided due to fraud. We're also seeking a new division of assets based on accurate financial disclosures and the true ownership structure of Stewart Construction." "And what does that look like specifically?" Rochelle pulled out her own documents. "My client, Camille Stewart, is the 60% majority owner of Stewart Construction. She funded the initial startup with her family's money. She obtained the CPA license that made government contracts possible. She managed the company's finances for 12 years. Additionally, the marital home was purchased with funds primarily from my client's inheritance. The mortgage was paid from accounts funded by her income. We are seeking full ownership of Stewart Construction as per the original incorporation documents, the marital home, the $2.3 million in recovered hidden assets, full child support for both children, and alimony for 10 years to compensate for the career opportunities my client sacrificed during the marriage." The courtroom was silent. Derek's lawyer stood up, desperate. "Your Honor, this is excessive. My client has rights." "Your client," the judge interrupted, "committed fraud against this court. His rights are limited by his own criminal actions." She looked at me for the first time. "Mrs. Stewart, is there anything you'd like to say?" I stood slowly. My belly was huge, now 8 months pregnant. I had to hold the table for support. "Your Honor, I spent 12 years building a life with this man. I gave him my money, my license, my career, my best years. When he was done using me, he threw me away. He took everything. He turned people against me. He called our unborn child a bastard." I looked at Derek, looked him right in the eyes. "I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for what was always mine, the company I helped build, the money I helped earn, the respect I always deserved. That's all." I sat down. The judge nodded slowly. I've heard enough. Based on the evidence presented, I rule as follows. The judge's voice filled the courtroom. The original divorce settlement is hereby voided due to fraud and perjury committed by Derek Stewart. Asset division. Camille Stewart is awarded full ownership of Stewart Construction, consistent with the original incorporation documents. The marital home is awarded to Camille Stewart. The recovered funds from offshore accounts, $2.3 million, are awarded to Camille Stewart as restitution for fraud. Derek made a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Child support. Derek Stewart is ordered to pay $3,000 per month for each child until they reach 18. That includes the unborn child whose paternity has been established through DNA testing. Alimony. Derek Stewart is ordered to pay $2,000 per month for 10 years. The judge looked at Derek. Mr. Stewart, you came into this marriage with nothing. You built your success on your wife's money, her license, and her labor. You then discarded her and tried to steal everything. This court does not reward fraud. This court does not reward cruelty. This court does not reward men who think they can abuse the system and their spouses. You will leave this marriage with exactly what you brought into it. Nothing. She banged her gavel. Court is adjourned. 2 weeks later, we were in federal court, criminal sentencing. The room was packed. Media, spectators, people who wanted to see how this story ended. Derek stood before Judge William Morrison in his orange jumpsuit, thinner now, paler, the confidence completely gone from his eyes. Mr. Stewart, the judge began, you have been found guilty of tax fraud, money laundering, wire fraud, and making false statements to federal investigators. These are serious crimes. Over 7 years, you defrauded the United States government of over $800,000 in unpaid taxes. You hid assets in offshore accounts. You used shell companies to launder money. You also committed perjury during your divorce, stealing millions from your own wife, the woman who helped you build everything you had. Derek's lawyer tried one more time. Your Honor, my client accepts responsibility for his actions. He's willing to make restitution. He asks for leniency. Leniency? The judge's voice was sharp. Your client showed no leniency to his wife when he kicked her out of her own home, no leniency when he denied his own child, no leniency when he physically assaulted her at his wedding. I've seen the video, Mr. Stewart. The whole world has seen the video. You ripped the dress off a pregnant woman to humiliate her in front of 200 people. That is not a man who deserves leniency. The judge straightened his papers. Derek Stewart, I hereby sentence you to 8 years in federal prison. 8 years. Additionally, you are ordered to pay $1.5 million in fines and restitution to the IRS. Upon release, you will be on supervised probation for 5 years. You will have no contact with your ex-wife except through attorneys regarding child visitation, which will be supervised and limited. The judge looked at Derek one final time. You had everything, Mr. Stewart. A successful company, a beautiful family, a wife who loved you, and you threw it all away for greed and ego. I hope 8 years gives you time to reflect on that. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Derek was led away in handcuffs. He didn't look at me as he passed, couldn't look at me. The man who had tried to destroy me couldn't even meet my eyes. I sat there for a long moment after he was gone. Rochelle squeezed my hand. It's over, sis. It's finally over. I nodded. But it wasn't over. Not really. It was just beginning. What happened to Megan? I know you're wondering. The federal investigation found that she hadn't knowingly participated in the fraud. She was ignorant, not criminal. The charges against her were dropped, but that didn't mean she escaped consequences. The prenup she'd signed? Ironclad. In the event of divorce or annulment, she got nothing. And since Derek had committed fraud before the wedding, the marriage was annulled, void, like it never happened. Megan Collins, not Stewart, never legally Stewart walked away with nothing. No house, no cars, no jewelry. All of it was purchased with fraudulent funds and was seized as part of the restitution. She moved back in with her mother, got a job as a receptionist at a dental office, started rebuilding her life from zero, just like I had to do 2 years earlier. Some people might call that karma. I just call it consequences. Aunt Vivian reached out to me a few months later, apologized again for her niece's behavior, said Megan was struggling, asked if I could find it in my heart to forgive her. I thought about it for a long time. Then I wrote back, I don't wish Megan any harm, but I also don't owe her my forgiveness. She laughed while my dress was being ripped off. She called me pathetic. She tried to take my husband and my life. I hope she learns from this. I hope she becomes a better person. But that's her journey, not mine. My journey is about moving forward, and I can't do that while looking back. Aunt Vivian understood. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face their own consequences. May 15th, 3 months after the sentencing. I went into labor at 2 a.m. Mama drove me to the hospital. Rochelle met us there. Zoe stayed with Rochelle's husband, but she made me promise to call the second her little brother arrived. 14 hours of labor, 14 hours of pain and pushing and praying. And then, at 4:47 in the afternoon, I heard him cry, my son. The nurse placed him on my chest, this tiny, perfect, beautiful boy. 10 fingers, 10 toes, his father's nose but his mama's eyes. I cried. Mama cried. Rochelle cried. What's his name? The nurse asked. I looked down at my son, this baby that his father had denied, this baby that I'd carried through humiliation and investigation and court battles, this baby that was born into a new life, a free life, a life full of possibility. Justice, I said. His name is Justice. Justice David Stewart. The nurse smiled. That's a powerful name. He's going to be a powerful man. Zoe came to meet her brother that evening. She walked into the hospital room so carefully, like she was afraid she might break something. But when she saw him, her whole face lit up. He's so tiny, she whispered. You were this tiny once. Really? Really. I let her hold him, showed her how to support his head, watched my daughter look at my son with such wonder and love. I'm going to be the best big sister ever, she promised. I'm going to teach him everything, how to read, how to ride a bike, how to do math. I know you will, baby. She looked up at me. Mommy? Yes? Is Daddy ever going to meet him? The question I'd been dreading. I took a breath. Maybe someday, sweetheart, when Justice is older, and when Daddy has served his time and learned from his mistakes. Does Daddy know his name? Not yet. Zoe nodded slowly. I think it's a good name, she said. Justice. Because you got justice, right, Mommy? That's what Aunt Rochelle said. I smiled through my tears. Yeah, baby. Mommy got justice. And now we get to start over. 6 weeks after Justice was born, I walked into Stewart Construction, my company. The employees didn't know what to expect. For 12 years, I'd been the quiet woman in the back office, the CEO's wife, the numbers person. Now, I was the CEO. I called a company-wide meeting. Everyone gathered in the main conference room. Project managers, foremen, accountants, secretaries, about 40 people who were wondering if they still had jobs. I stood at the front of the room. Justice was with Mama. Zoe was at school. This was my moment. Good morning, I said. For those who don't know me, my name is Camille Stewart. I've worked with this company since its founding in 2007. I've done the books, the taxes, the payroll, and the contracts. What you probably didn't know is that I own 60% of this company. I always have. And now I'm taking my place as CEO. Murmurs, shocked faces. Some people had heard the news, others were learning for the first time. I know there's been a lot of chaos lately, a lot of uncertainty. Some of you might be wondering if this company has a future. It does. I'm that future. I looked around the room. I'm not Derek. I don't have his charm or his salesmanship, but I know this business inside and out. I know our contracts, our clients, our capabilities, and I know how to run things honestly. That's what this company is going to be from now on. Honest, professional, respected. If you want to be part of that, I want you here. If you don't, there's the door. No hard feelings. Nobody moved. One of the project managers, a man named Thomas, who'd worked with us for 8 years, raised his hand. Mrs. Stewart, I just want to say, some of us knew how much you did around here, knew that Derek was taking credit for your work. He looked around at his colleagues. We should have said something. We didn't, and I'm sorry for that. Other heads nodded. Other voices murmured agreement. But we're glad you're here now, and we're ready to work. I felt tears threatening, pushed them back. Thank you, Thomas. That means more than you know. Now, let's get to work. 1 year after Derek's arrest, Stewart Construction, renamed Stewart and Associates, was thriving. Revenue up 40%, 3 new government contracts, a reputation for quality and integrity that Derek had never been able to build. It turned out that clients appreciated working with someone who was honest, who delivered what she promised, who didn't cut corners or cheat on contracts. Who would have thought? I sat in my office, the corner office that used to be Derek's, looking out at the Atlanta skyline. On my desk were 3 photos. Zoe, now 9, in her school picture. Honor roll student, future lawyer, she said, just like Aunt Rochelle. Justice, now 8 months old, laughing at the camera. Healthy, happy, completely unaware of the drama that surrounded his birth. And Mama, holding both her grandchildren, smiling the biggest smile I'd ever seen. No photo of Derek anywhere. That chapter was closed. My phone buzzed. A text from Rochelle. Dinner at Mama's tonight? She's making her famous peach cobbler. I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you. Thank you for listening to my story, for staying with me through the pain and the planning and the victory. But before I go, I want to share some things I learned, some lessons that took me 12 years and a whole lot of heartache to understand. Maybe they can save you some time. Lesson 1, document everything. Ladies, listen to me. Every text message, every email, every bank statement, every suspicious receipt, save it. Don't delete anything. Don't throw anything away. Don't tell yourself, I'm being paranoid, or I should trust him more. I didn't start documenting because I was planning revenge. I documented because I was doing my job as an accountant. I kept records because that's what organized people do, and those records saved my life. When Derek tried to deny our baby, I had the recording of him admitting paternity. When he tried to claim he built the company alone, I had the incorporation documents showing my ownership. When he tried to hide millions of dollars, I had the bank transfers and account numbers. You never know when you'll need proof of the truth. So keep everything. Store it somewhere safe, somewhere he can't find it. Email copies to yourself. Give copies to someone you trust. Build your evidence file. Pray you never need it, but have it ready just in case. Because in a courtroom, the person with the best documentation wins. And if you're ever fighting someone who lies as naturally as breathing, you're going to need every piece of paper you can find. Lesson 2. Silence is a strategy. When Derek ripped my dress, everyone expected me to scream, to cry, to make a scene. That's what he wanted, proof that I was the crazy ex-wife he'd told everyone about. But I smiled. I made one phone call. I said 3 words, and I walked out with my head high. Because I knew something he didn't know. I knew the FBI was 20 minutes away. I knew his whole empire was about to crumble. I knew that my silence was more powerful than any scream. Sometimes the best response is no response. Let them think they've won. Let them get comfortable. Let them celebrate their victory. And then watch their faces when the truth comes out. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is patience. Silence is control. Silence is letting your enemy destroy themselves while you wait for the perfect moment to strike. Derek thought my silence meant I was defeated. He didn't realize I was loading my weapon. Lesson 3. Your children are watching. Everything I did in front of my daughter. She watched her father deny her baby brother. She watched him rip my dress at his wedding. She watched him get arrested. She watched the court proceedings. Some people might say I should have shielded her from all that, kept her innocent, protected her from the ugly truth. But here's what I believe. Children need to see their mothers fight back. Zoe saw her father be cruel, but she also saw her mother be strong. She saw that women don't have to accept abuse, that we can stand up for ourselves, that we can fight back with intelligence and strategy instead of just tears. She saw that justice is possible, that the legal system, for all its flaws, can work if you're prepared. She saw that her mother built a company from nothing once and then took it back when it was stolen. My daughter is 9 years old, and she already knows her worth. She knows she deserves respect. She knows she doesn't have to accept being treated badly. She knows she can be strong and soft at the same time. That's the inheritance I'm giving her. Not money, not property, self-respect. And that's worth more than anything Derek ever tried to steal. Lesson 4. God's timing is perfect. I'm not going to lie. There were times I doubted. Times when I asked God, why me? Why now? Why is this happening? When Derek kicked me out, I thought my life was over. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought God was punishing me. When I had to go to that wedding, I thought I was being humiliated for nothing. But now I see it. If Derek hadn't kicked me out, I never would have had time to dig through those documents. If I hadn't been pregnant, I wouldn't have been at that wedding. If he hadn't ripped my dress in front of 200 witnesses, the world wouldn't have seen who he really was. Every tragedy was a setup for triumph. Every low point was preparation for a comeback. Every tear was watering seeds I couldn't yet see. God didn't abandon me during those dark times. He was positioning me for victory. He was turning what Derek meant for evil into something good. If you're in a dark season right now, hold on. You might not be able to see what God is doing, but He's doing something. Trust His timing, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Lesson 5. Your comeback is your best revenge. Derek is in federal prison right now. He'll be there for another 7 years. Every month, he has to write child support checks from his prison wages. Every month, he's reminded of what he lost. But I don't think about him. I don't celebrate his suffering. I don't visit him to gloat. I don't even mention his name to my children unless they ask. Because the best revenge isn't hurting someone. The best revenge is living so well that they become irrelevant. I'm the CEO of a successful company now. I have 2 beautiful children who love me. I have my family, my faith, and my freedom. I wake up every morning in peace, in abundance, in joy. And Derek? He wakes up in a cell, not because I put him there, because his own choices put him there. That's not revenge. That's just consequences. And my life, moving forward, thriving, succeeding, being happy, that's not spite. That's victory. If you're listening to this and you're going through something, if someone is hurting you, using you, stealing from you, disrespecting you, I need you to know something. You are not stuck. You are not helpless. You are not what they say you are. You are powerful. You are valuable. You are worthy of respect. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you will rise. You will take back everything they stole. You will stand in your truth and watch them face theirs. You will build something new from the ashes of what they burned. He ripped my dress to shame me, but I'm the one who stripped him of everything. My name is Camille Stewart. I'm 39 years old. I'm a CPA, a CEO, a mother of 2, and I am living proof that the best chapters of your life can come after the worst. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Now go write your own comeback story. because you deserve one. God bless.